What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to some more Bible reading. So, Exodus 10. The last couple of chapters we've been going through different plagues that God has brought upon Egypt because Pharaoh won't let God's people go. And we continue on with that, and yeah, that's pretty much where things stand. Not really too much else to say about what's going on here. So, here we go. Exodus 10. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Return to Pharaoh and make your demands again. I have made him and his officials stubborn, so I can display my miraculous signs among them. I've also done it so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs I displayed among them, and so you will know that I am the Lord." Okay, so once again, God, because this has been going on for a while with, the back and forth between Moses and Pharaoh and the plagues brought upon Egypt, and at this point, it would not be unreasonable to expect that, someone might think, well, why haven't you just let the people go? Why haven't you just done something or, made it so that Pharaoh will let them go? So God is once again getting into, why he's continuing like this, that he's not only displaying his power to the Egyptians, but also, so the stories can be told among the generations of the Israelites. And, as a reminder to Moses and to really all of them that he is the Lord, that he is mighty and can, rescue them from whatever trouble they find themselves in. Also, stubborn footnote, probably just, talking about making the hearts heavy. Verse 3. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, watch out, for tomorrow I will bring a swarm of locusts on your country. They will cover the land so that you won't be able to see the ground. They will devour what little is left of your crops after the hailstorm, including all the trees growing in the fields. They will overrun your palaces and the homes of your officials and all the houses in Egypt. Never in the history of Egypt have your ancestors seen a plague like this one." And with that, Moses turned and left Pharaoh. So, so far we've had, plague-wise, we've had the river turning to blood. We've had, there's been flies, gnats, boils, frogs, and I get a feeling there's one or two I'm missing in there. But, killing off the livestock. But now locusts are going to come in and, cover the whole realm of Egypt, it would seem. So, these locusts are going to be literally everywhere. There won't be any sort of, hiding from them or escaping them or anything like that. Debatable whether that's, upping the stakes, aside from the fact that it's also going to kill off all the crops that are left. So with these plagues, not only has there been the direct, apparent effect in terms of it just being annoying to the people of Egypt, but there's also slowly and steadily been like a decreasing of, food stock, different supplies of basically various resources for the Egyptians. And this seems like it's going to sort of cap it all off, at least in terms of the crops, and, make it so they have practically nothing. But anyway, verse 7. Pharaoh's officials now came to Pharaoh and appealed to him. How long will you let this man hold us hostage? Let the men go to worship the Lord their God. Don't you realize that Egypt lies in ruins? So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. All right, he told them, go and worship the Lord your God. But who exactly will be going with you? Moses replied, we will all go, young and old, our sons and daughters, and our flocks and herds. We must all join together in celebrating a festival to the Lord. Pharaoh retorted, the Lord will certainly need to be with you if I let you take your little ones. I can see through your evil plan. Never. Only the men may go and worship the Lord, since that is what you requested. And Pharaoh threw them out of the palace. So, I guess it hadn't been made completely clear to Pharaoh before this that, Moses was wanting, or that God even was wanting all of the Israelites to go and worship. And, given that, again, the Hebrews were a significant part of the workforce in Egypt at this time, it's, from a ruling standpoint, it kind of makes sense that he wouldn't want to just suddenly lose them. And now that Moses is saying that, all the people need to go and worship, he's probably assuming that they're not actually leaving to go worship. They just want to get out of Egypt forever. If they all leave, there's no reason for them to come back. So why wouldn't they just, find somewhere else to live? So that's why, even now he's resistant. So, anyway, verse 12. Then the Lord said to Moses, raise your hand over the land of Egypt, and to bring on the locusts. Let them cover the land and devour every plant that survived the hailstorm. So Moses raised his staff over Egypt, and the Lord caused an east wind to blow over the land all that day and through the night. When morning arrived, the east wind had brought the locusts, and the locusts swarmed over the whole land of Egypt, settling in dense swarms from one end of the country to the other. It was the worst locust plague in Egyptian history, and there has never been another one like it. For the locusts covered the whole country and darkened the land. They devoured every plant in the fields and all the fruit on the trees that had survived the hailstorm. Not a single leaf was left on the trees and plants throughout the land of Egypt. So, just a thought related to the whole east wind thing. I mean, it's possible that could be literal. I don't necessarily know where locusts would be, likely to come from relative to Egypt. But if I'm remembering correctly from sort of, back in my college days, taking some Bible classes and stuff, the phrase east wind, or even various things relating to the east, as it's mentioned in the Bible, it was kind of a figurative way of just saying, like, it was something mysterious, or, like, strange or unknown, because geographically, anything east of, like, say, Persia or Babylon or whatever of those times. Basically anything east of what's now probably Iraq would have been, unknown territory, really, to basically any of, the people who would have been reading, I think, pretty much any of what we call the Old Testament, back before the time of Jesus especially, and before, the church, the Christian church, came about and grew and spread through the world and all that. But anyway, so in terms of, Jewish culture and God's people and the way they referred to things, like the East was just generally a sort of mysterious, unknown area to them. And so certain mysterious winds or tides or different things like that would often be referred to as coming from the East. But again, it could also be literal in the, I'm not saying that it has to be a figurative interpretation. But yeah, anyway. So, bunch of locusts come in, cover everything, and plants are gone. Verse 16. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron. I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you, he confessed. Forgive my sin just this once, and plead with the Lord your God to take away this death from me. So Moses left Pharaoh's court and pleaded with the Lord. The Lord responded by shifting the wind, and the strong west wind blew the locusts into the Red Sea. Not a single locust remained in all the land of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, so he refused to let the people go. Okay, so, the Red Sea would have been to the east of Egypt, which, if it was a westerly wind blowing, that makes sense. So I guess it could have been a literal east wind that brought the locusts in, but Hebrew says the Sea of Reeds instead of the Red Sea. That was probably just their way of referring to what we now call the Red Sea. But once again, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, and he doesn't let the people go. This is 3 or 4 times now that he has said he would let them go, but then changed his mind once things cleared up. Alright, verse 21. Then the Lord said to Moses, lift your hand toward heaven, and the land of Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick you can feel it. So Moses lifted his hand to the sky, and a deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. During all that time, the people could not see each other, and no one moved. But there was light as usual where the people of Israel lived. Okay, so, can you just imagine it being that dark everywhere, constantly, for 3 days? Imagine, a darkness that's, so deep and thick, you can't even see your hand in front of your face like this. And it's like that everywhere. For 3 days. Sure, that doesn't necessarily prevent, people from going about their own houses and, kind of, feeling around for food or whatever. But, it literally says no one could see each other and no one moved. So it's that disruptive. Anyway, verse 24. Finally, Pharaoh called for Moses. Go and worship the Lord, he said, but leave your flocks and herds here. You may even take your little ones with you. No, Moses said, You must provide us with animals for sacrifices and burnt offerings to the Lord our God. All our livestock must go with us too. Not a hoof can be left behind. We must choose our sacrifices for the Lord our God from among these animals, and we won't know how we are to worship the Lord until we get there." But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart once more, and he would not let them go. "Get out of here," Pharaoh shouted at Moses. "I'm warning you. Never come back to see me again. The day you see my face, you will die." "Very well," Moses replied. "I will never see your face again." So, it's... as we've gone through the procession of these plagues, Pharaoh has sort of slowly started caving further and further to the actual demands of Moses. But, it's like, at first he was kind of saying, okay, you can go, and he was sort of assuming it would just be the men that would go and worship or something like that. Actually, I think the first time he tried sort of negotiating like this, it was more like, okay, you can worship God, but you gotta stay here in Egypt. And Moses is like, no, we have to do it elsewhere, otherwise your people are going to kill us. So then the next time Pharaoh caves, he's like, fine, you can go and worship God somewhere else, but he's assuming it's just the men. So when he asks who's going and finds that it's everybody, he's like, wait, no, I can't have all the people go. They're just gonna, they're just gonna leave. They're not gonna come back. And, now he's caving even further and saying, fine, all the people can go, even the little ones that I wanted to keep here to, basically raised to be Egyptians. Or at least that's kind of what would be implied from the fact that he wanted the little ones to stay before. But anyway, so now he's like, fine, everybody can go, even the little ones, but, keep your flocks in that here, with the implication being that, Pharaoh and the Egyptians would then be able to utilize their crops, their livestock, and, use that as food to make up for everything that's been lost from the plagues. But Moses is like, no, we can't do that. God wants everything to come with us. We have to make sacrifices to God from our livestock, but we don't know exactly what God's going to want us to sacrifice until we get there. So we need to take the livestock with us. Again, still trying to kind of give off the air of we're going out to worship God, even if ultimately that's not necessarily what's going to happen. But I do wonder if, there was a certain point in this process, if Pharaoh had fully given in, if God would have just, actually made it so they left for a bit and then came back. Although that was never the idea that was communicated to Moses and Aaron, so anyway, it's kind of a back and forth bargaining, almost like you'd see in a lot of, markets throughout the world where, the seller tells you a certain price for the item and you sort of haggle back and forth to get to what you actually pay for. But in this case, it's one of those things where God's not budging on what he wants. He's, he made his demands. Pharaoh didn't listen and give in, so God brings plague. Pharaoh maybe concedes a little ground, but not everything, so God's like, nope, Another plague. Pharaoh concedes further, and that's kind of the pattern that's been established throughout these plagues and such. But anyway, I guess that about wraps it up for chapter 10. Okay, so that's going to do it for this time around. As always, like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with others if you want them to see, subscribe to my channel to see more of my videos, and click the bell to get updates when I post new ones. Also, if you want to see me, recording these and doing this stuff live, just go to twitch.tv/thatrandomchristiangamer. It's the same channel name, so it's not that hard to find. But yeah, I generally stream on Thursdays, roughly 2 to 5. I usually send out updates on, like, Twitter and Facebook and stuff the day of, just kind of giving an estimate of when I'll actually start. So, yeah, look down in the description for info on social media stuff if you want to know when those are happening exactly, so you can hop on over to the streams and interact that way, and actually maybe be part of the video if, I see your comment in the chats and engage with it. But otherwise, if you want to leave comments the normal YouTube way, do that down below as well. So that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.